Hi, welcome to Learning Monkey. I am Raghu here. In this class, we will discuss about how to add and remove rows in a data frame. In our previous classes, we already discussed about how to create a data frame using lists and dictionaries and how to access the .csv files and create the data frame using .csv files. So please follow our playlist from the beginning so that you will have a better understanding of the complete Python for data science. The link for the playlist is provided in the description below. Coming to today's class, let's take an examples and understand how to add and remove the rows in a data frame. Before going into the adding and removing the rows, first we will understand how to access the elements in a data frame. If you want to access an element in the data frame, in our example, let's show me that. So import pandas as PD. So here we have taken an example. We are taking a list of elements. In this list of elements, we are creating a data frame using list of elements. This is the syntax which we discussed in our previous classes. Here we mentioned that index is equal to ACB. Means data frame by default give the index values as 0, 1, 2 like that. But we are mentioning the index values. So we can access the rows using these index values. If you not mention the index values, Python will default by default it will take the values 0, 1, 2 and so on. And the columns are also provided here. What's the columns? Columns is equal to C1, C2 are the columns, column names. Okay, so we define the data frame and this is our data frame. When we display the data frame, this is the output which we got. See here, C1, C2, 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 are the elements. If you want to access the rows in a data frame, what we do here? Print df.loc of. LOC is the attribute of a data frame class. We already discussed in our previous classes about data frame class. Let me show you again what's data frame class. You will get an idea about. So this is our data frame class. In this data frame class, we are having so many attributes and methods that are available for the data frame class. We can use those attributes and methods for our work. So in this class, we will discuss about LOC attribute. In our coming classes, we will discuss about the mostly used attributes for Python for data science. Will be discussed in our coming classes. Whenever we required, we will discuss about the remaining methods also. Methods and attributes also. See, let me show the attributes. These are the list of attributes available in the data frame. In this we are having LOC. This is the LOC. We use this attribute for accessing the rows, and if we want to modify also, add also, we will use this. We will show it with an example. This is the attribute which we are using to access the elements in the data frame. Okay. So LOC of, if you mention the index values, what we have mentioned here, see the syntax here, what we are showing here, A to B, means this is working exactly similarly like a string slicing. What we mentioned in the string slicing, A to B means starting from A to Bth position. Here we have defined the index values as A to B. So what's the index values? A, C, B. So it will consider the rows from A, C, B. In string slicing, one important point you have to understand here, in string slicing, we don't consider the last position, but here it will consider the last position also. So it is displaying A, C, B also. That's why the output which we are coming after the lines we have selected, all the lines we have been selected. So A, C, B all are selected. Now coming to the next example, we are showing one more examples because this is the initial classes. We are showing one more examples. Data frame. If you don't mention the index values, what happens? If you don't mention the index values, Python will default assign the index values starting from 0, 1 and 2. So we can access the rows using the index values 0 to 2. So it will display all the values 0 to 2. Let's take one more example, go deep into the concept of data frame, how to access the elements. What we mentioned here, let's try to check it and understand what we have mentioned here. A, C1, what's that mean? In between there is a comma is there. In the above we are having a column, Here we are mentioning the comma. Comma means the first one is considered as the row indexes and the second one is considered as the column names. Consider only the line number that consists of A, index value A, and only the column value C1. Those elements should be displayed. That's why our output is only 1. 8th line, C1 column. What's the value we are having? Only 1. We can mention whatever the columns we required. That also we can mention using this LOC method, LOC attribute. It's not method, it's an attribute. Accessing elements using rows and columns. Take one more example. See here what we are mentioning, A to C. Take the rows from A to C but display only C1 column. Our output is 1 and 4. It is displaying A and C. One more example for understanding, df.loc of A to C, C1 to C3 means all the columns and only A and C row. That is what we are showing here, because in the data we are having we are having the rows, see here, A, C, B. Out of this A to C display, that is what we are mentioning there. In between there are no rows in between the A and C. That's why it is going to display A, C. All the in between there is nothing. That's why it is displaying A and C. So A, C, C1 and C3 columns. Coming to the next example, accesses elements using conditions. We can mention some conditions also here. If you take print df.loc of df of C3 means, what's that meaning? Df of C3 means it will take the column name, and df of C3 greater than 6. What's that meaning of? So it will check the elements present in the df of C3 column. Out of those, whatever the elements that satisfies the condition greater than 6, those lines will be displayed. So only one line is having a C3 greater than 9. That's why it is displaying the single line. We can mention the conditions. The same way we can mention the conditions and we can mention the column names also. Which satisfies this condition, display only C2 column. That is what we are trying to display here. Only C2 column. That's why we got only 8. Okay, so this is how we use LOC method for displaying, means accessing the elements from the data frame. Coming to our next example, we are taking, so again we are showing the one more example based on indexes. We are taking 1 to the same values and we are accessing using 0 to 1 means these two lines will be displayed, 0 and 1 will be displayed. So this is one more example. So again we have shown the same example. Okay, coming to our next example, adding rows to the data frame. If you want to add a separate extra row to your existing data frame, what we do? We can use the same LOC attribute and access the elements, and we can use the same LOC attribute and we can assign, add a new lines to the data frame also. Let's check the code how to add the new lines to the data frame. Import, this is the data frame which we have defined and the elements are 0, 1, 2 and the first line consists of 3 and 4. This is our data frame. After that we have taken a list of elements, list 1, 5, 6. Length is equal to len of df. See the len function, basic Python, we use a len function in many times. So please, if you don't know what's len function is, please visit our Python basic classes and come back here. So len is equal to len of df. Len means it will give the length of the how many lines it is having, that values will be given length, len of df. So df.loc of, if you mention the length at that index position, insert the new elements that are present in the list 1. This is how we will add the new lines to the existing data frame. LOC of length is equal to list 1. Okay, we defined a list 1. These elements will be added to our data frame. At position, second position, because length of our data frame is 2, which is having 2 lines. That's why it is giving 2. At second index, we have to place that 5, 6. So the output shown here is, see here, at second index, we are having 2, 5, 6. Okay, if you want to replace the existing rows and place the new values, we can use df.loc of 0. instead of length, here in the above example we have given length, means at the second position. Now at the 0th position, means 0th index value, the line, existing line will be replaced with the new elements, list 1. So that's why the output 5 6 3 4 5 6, the first one is replaced with the 5 6. Again we are replacing 5 6 values with the 0th line. That's why we got the output 5 6 3 4 5 6. So now coming to our next example, adding two data frames. Take two data frames and how to add them, means we have to combine both the data frames and make it as a single data frame. Let's take the example df1. We are taking a data frame 1 2 3 4 of the elements and the column names are a b. Take one more data frame and the column names are a b. If you want to add the two data frames, we will use the method called append. Append method is used. So df1 dot append of df2. So what this append method will do is it will append both the data frames and the appended data frame will be returned back. So that's why we have taken the third variable df3 is equal to df1 dot append of df2. Means the df1 df2 will be appended and the new returned appended data frame will be returned back. It is saved in a variable called, the reference to the new data frame is taken in the variable called df3. Print df3 means, see here, this is the output, this is the actual, we have considered df1 and df2, and the appended new data frame is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. And the point you have to remember, see here, the index values are not changed. So what happens? How to change the index values? In our next example we will show that how to change the index values in the same append method. In the append method, ignore index is equal to true. If you mention this parameter, by default ignore index is having a false value. Ignore index means it will take out the previous index and it will assign the new index values. If you make it as true, 0 1 2 3 is the output which we got. See here, 0 1 2 3 new index values are considered. Okay, let's take one more example for better understanding. What the example shows is columns not in order. See here, the data from df1 is equal to, the first column is a, second column is b. In the df2 we have taken first column is b and the second column is a. So what happens if the columns are not in order? It will take the columns having the similar names and it will append the data. See here, the output which we got, df3 is equal to df1 dot append of df2, and the new data frame is placed in the reference variable df3 and it is displaying, we are displaying df1 df2 also in the above. So that's why the original is this one. We have considered these two data frames, and if you append this, see, b, towards the b side we got 5 and 7. Okay, this is how it will consider and it will append the values. Okay, coming to the next one, next example, more columns in the data frame. Let's take one more example. See here, in the first data frame df1 is equal to, we are having 2 columns. In the second data frame we are having 3 columns. What happens here? How it will get appended, that we have to understand. The output we are showing here is, see, the third column 7 10 will also append to the new data frame. Whenever, this point we have to understand, whenever there is an empty space, because in the first data frame at C column we don't have any value after appending, that will be replaced with a NaN, means not a number. So we will use this value NaN in remaining programming languages. If you are good at remaining programming languages, we will use the null value. Here in the data frame we are using, to mention the empty spaces we will use NaN, not a number, because we use this concept NaN many times in our next coming classes when we, so we in the Python data science, if you want to clean the data, what you have to do, you have to eliminate the empty rows, the rows that consist of empty values. Those rows should be eliminated. How to eliminate that? We have to identify NaN values, which rows consist of the NaN values. Those should be identified and they have to be dropped. That is what we have to do. So in that way we will use this nan value. So please remember this, nan means empty spaces, so no element is there in that position. That is what we mention it as nan. Okay, so here we have got a warning. So ignore the warning. What's this warning means? Because the columns are not in the sorted order, that's not matching to the data frames, that's why it has shown this error. And in the append function, if you add a new parameter, this warning will be eliminated. Sort is equal to, by default it will be true, it will be false, we have to make it as true, then we will get that warning will be eliminated. See here, we don't have the warning. It will, what's this sort is equal to true will do here is it will arrange the columns in the ascending order, in the order which it needs. That is what the use of sort is equal to true. Coming to our next example, how to remove rows in the data frame. We have to remove the lines from the data frame. So in order to append the lines, in order to add new lines to the data frame, we use the method called append, and this is one way to append the lines, and one more way is we can append the new lines using LOC also. But in order to remove the lines from the data frame, we have to use the method drop method will be used. See, this is the drop method. Let's check the documentation of the drop method for one time. This is the official documentation for the drop method. How to check this official documentation? Just type data frame. This we already discussed in our previous classes. Type data frame in Google, you will get the official documentation, the list of attributes and methods that are present in the data frame. From that we have taken, see, the drop method consists of the first parameter as labels. Means we have to mention. One thing we have to understand, drop method is used for removing rows and columns. Both of them can be removed using drop method. So how to remove the columns, that we will discuss in our next class. How to remove the lines, that we will discuss here in this class. Labels means if you mention list of row indexes, that is what labels means. It will consider the row indexes and delete those rows. If you mention axis is equal to 0, it will consider the labels as row side, means lines. It will check the line indexes. If you mention axis is equal to 1, means it will check the column indexes, column names. Whatever the labels you mentioned here, that will be checked in the column sides. Column names are considered there, and delete the columns that match those names. That is how these labels and axis will be, these two parameters will be used to remove the lines from the data frame. If you don't want these two parameters, you can use the index parameter. The third one is index parameter. So don't use these two parameters, we can use directly the index parameter. You can give the list of the index values. So index parameter will consider it as a line indexes. Okay. So if you want to delete this is the situation which we got, that's why we are explaining how to remove the columns also. If you want to remove the columns, we can use columns. Instead of labels, axis is equal to 1 means delete the columns. Labels, axis is equal to 0 means delete the rows. If you don't want to use these two variables, you can use index or columns. If you mention index means it will check the lines. If you mention columns means it will check the columns. Okay, this is how drop method will be used, and the drop method will returns the data frame. The new elements are placed in, so whatever the modifications is done by the drop method, the new data frame, that it will create a new data frame and that will be replaced, means returned back. So if you don't want to return it back, if you want to do it in place, means do it in the same place and modify it, then we have to mention the option in place option should be mentioned. This is how we use the drop method. Let's check the examples which we considered using dropping the lines and columns. See here, this is the data frame 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, means total we are having 4 lines are there. Out of that we are dropping second and third. So in the labels place, we have mentioned the list of lines that we need to drop. and axis is equal to 0. Whenever you mention axis is equal to 0, it will consider this as a line index x. In place is equal to true. What's this mean? Don't send the data frame back. New data frame will not be created. In the same data frame, the modifications will be taken place. So that's why if you display df1, what's the output? It is eliminating second and third line and the displaying 0 and 1 that are remained in the df1. Instead of using labels and axis, we can use the index also. The next example shows index is equal to 2 comma 3, means the same meaning. Whatever we have done above, the same output will be displayed here. So this is how we will access adding and removing the lines from the data frame. Hope you understand the concept. If you have any questions regarding the concept, please post your questions in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel and press bell icon for the latest updates. Thank you.